What's up, weebs? Welcome back to Anime Lane, the podcast where we take you down the yellow brick road of anime and have a look at everything it has to offer. As always, I'm your host, Notorious. Join me once again today, Shaun.
Yee.
And Melina.
You stole my yee.
Yes, I did.
Aww.
Right from under your nose.
Aww.
Yeeless.
I'm upset. Hi.
Okay, there we go. It's time to belt our lungs out and sing a bit of harmony, directed by Yasuhiro Yoshiura, written by Yoshiura and Ichiro Okuchi, music by Ryo Takahashi, animation production by JC staff. It released in Japanese theatres October 29th, 2021. It is licensed outside of Japan by Crunchyroll. It is available on home video or to stream on Crunchyroll. Then we return to the world of the creatures of the night in Vampire Hunter D, directed by Toyo Ashida. Don't know why that name gave me so much trouble. Written by Yasushi Hirano, music by Tetsuya Komuro. Fucking hell, there's a lot of names giving me problems today. Animation.
You're forgiven. It's okay.
Am I having a stroke? What's happening?
Strong.
Breathe. It's the monster.
Animation production by Ashi Productions. It released in Japanese theatres December 2nd, 1985. It was licensed in the UK by Manga Entertainment and the US by Sentai Filmworks. Based on the novel series by Hideyuki Kikuchi, who also wrote Demon City and Wicked City, with artwork by Yoshitaka Amano, published in English by Dark Horse.
Nice.
Woo-hoo.
Yes. So yeah, it's he's listed as character designer in the credits, Yoshitaka Amano, but it's not really the same style, because he's the designer for Final Fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
And his artwork fucking slaps.
It really does.
But it sort of gets lost in translation because it's very stylized. I'll show you some of his stuff during the break because it's magnificent. He's an amazing artist.
It's beautiful, but like from what I remember from like his Final Fantasy stuff, it's sort of, because his style is so distinct, it means that like every game sort of starts to look the same, or a lot of characters start to look very similar to each other because of that. It's like the sort of a Galaxy Express problem we had. Where
Everyone is Maytel.
Everyone is Maytel. Here it's more like everyone, no matter what the in-game sprite shows, has like white hair.
Yes. So yeah, what one are we starting with? Do we want to start with Vampire Hunter D, or do we want to start with Sing About Harmony? So
I watched Sing About Harmony first.
Same.
Oh.
We did it!
So we'll start there.
Oh, I love this movie.
Surprise.
Wow, Jesus. Okay, we're all in agreement then.
Yeah.
I love this movie.
Well,
This was
I
a good movie.
really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Because again, I go in fully blind. I was like, this is just gonna be something about sing a little song, happy.
I had literally only seen the scene where they're in the judo hall and like they're doing like the dance judo thing, and I had seen that devoid of any context and was like, yeah,
I guess.
I'll buy it.
Well, why not?
I mean, here we are, like a year and a half later.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that song specifically, I think, is my favorite song in the whole thing, and it's just very upbeat.
Yeah,
I liked it. Did not expect AI.
No,
same.
because I was watching it on the Blu-ray, so hit play, blah blah blah, sitting there watching it, and I'm like, oh, is this an ad for a different anime? Because it does like the thing where you see like the like building, and then it goes to like a different part of the building, and I'm like, I guess this is an ad for like Sword Art Online,
or maybe this is just another like logo.
Yeah. I for a while we were in the computery landscape, I was like, so this is then gonna be the Family Guy joke of, and this is the movie. It's so interesting. No, it's another.
I was almost ready to have like the end of Eva thing where like there's like 50 logos before the movie starts. Why is Sega here? But I did not expect the robot.
No. I knew it was musical.
I mean, from the title.
Yeah, that's it.
Fair conclusion.
I did not expect anything else that the movie did.
No, I think did we look at like the blurb on like Google when we looked at this? Because I looked up the blurb on Google like right like right as we were watching this, I was like, it does not mention AI or robots at all.
I might have read the blurb from Crunchyroll at some point, which I don't remember mentioning robots or AI.
No.
Okay, because I remember being so like surprised on like the AI and like robot spin that I was like, did we discuss this and I completely forgot?
Yeah.
But then I looked up on Google and like the blurb on like Google just sort of says that like, oh, a new student comes to like the school, but she has a secret and that's it.
Which is so many animes to me.
Yeah, which is very generic.
Absolutely.
We'll see. This was a surprise, but a happy surprise because I can enjoy this stuff like this.
Yeah.
Give like a little sci-fi spin to something like this, and if this show has taught me anything, it's that having emotionally like cruxing like stories and like high school students apparently is a weakness for me in anime now. Because that hooked me immediately. Add like a robot and AI into it, we're gold. That's perfect for me.
I think the characterization of all of the like kids really helps, where it's like you clearly get given at their introduction like a stereotype you're meant to see them through, and then the film spends the rest of the time
building
them and like breaking down them from the stereotype,
which I think is I always think it's a good way to kind of start your characters as like you know what this is, she's the popular girl, and then from there you build on, instead of we have a blank canvas, let's start from there. I think it always works better if you're like, he's the popular guy. She's
you
the
have something to
popular
like,
girl.
you're like a foundation.
Yeah, so you immediately are like, okay, so this is the popular guy who's back.
Yeah, because I saw Goto and I was like, oh, he's the jock asshole.
Yeah.
And then very quickly it goes, no, he's actually like a pretty
decent guy. Yeah.
And then you meet his girlfriend and it's like, oh, she's a bitch. And for a long time you're like, oh, she's a bitch.
Then she's not a bitch. Well, she's bitchy, but like...
Yeah, I think she's my one character where I'm like, they maybe could have done a bit more with her, because I feel like her switch-up's like very fast.
Yes, that is true.
But... And I feel for poor judo guy, because I don't think he gets enough
No, he
screen
was so
time.
fun.
What he does get, though, is always gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was ready to storm the office.
I love that so much. To jump the gun to like near the end when like Shion, is it Shion? Shion is like taken by like the company. Like he is full on ready to go like full on avalanche on this company.
Well, he has a huge fucking crush on her.
Yeah.
Like huge, which you know, I can understand because she looks human, but in the back of your mind you're like, oh no.
It's weird though, because at that point, like, it's not really necessarily established that that's how he feels about her. It's not until like a little later where they're like running along and he's like, will you go on a date with me after all this? And she's like, yeah. Sure. And they're all like, what the fuck just happened?
Like, she's just smiling along. I don't think you know what that means.
Are you happy, said to me? Are you happy?
I guess. Maybe it did make me happy.
It did, yeah.
There's so many like emotional moments like just sort of sprinkled throughout that like almost got to me, I'll admit. Specifically, I think the one that actually did get me to break a little was when they're like, again, near the end, where like Shion just sort of looks out and all the other AI just sort of like send like a message.
Oh yeah,
using,
let's
like,
dance.
Yeah, I don't know what it was specifically, but that all actually got me to like shed a tear a little bit.
I mean, the team up and like, you know, you have the classic, we have to break out of here.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're gonna do this Moonlight Princess style.
Yeah.
We gotta go up.
Yeah, we gotta get the glitter, we gotta get the pinks and the purples, gotta get the Barbie core. It's just, it makes for like a little party.
Yeah. Might have a party, might storm a corporation HQ later. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
A corporation that like basically facilitates the whole town.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're a megacorp for
and
this
it's
town.
very much established that like this is not normal for this world yet. Like this is very much like a unique case.
It's funny, this is such a lighthearted movie, but it feels like a lot of the world is very like a prelude to cyberpunk dystopia.
Yeah, it does feel like it could go in that direction.
Like, it's very lighthearted, but like we're 2 steps away, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they do mention that a lot of the AI stuff that they do in that town is experimental.
Yeah.
Like the ones in the rice field, which is so funny. He's like, do not give them orders because they will follow them.
Just don't, please.
Please, for the love of God. He's like, kill yourself. Okay.
It's also unrealistic that no one actually does give them orders throughout the movie.
Yeah, it's very much a don't do this.
Like the moment I see a sign that says "Don't give them orders, they will follow," I'm like, hey, give me a high five.
Isn't Judo Guy's robot one of those things from
It's the same sort of design.
Yeah,
same
which is probably
design.
why it keeps fucking breaking down.
I mean, to be fair, they're playing judo with
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
So they're slamming it down on the ground, and he's like, I broke it again.
What do you think's gonna happen?
And then he's like, I've never won a match. It's like, what?
Well, against a robot, I honestly don't blame you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's probably the best at it.
The fact that you're holding your own against the robot for a while is already pretty impressive.
Yeah. But it's all about the rhythm.
Yes, the rhythm. It's a good rhythm.
Also, when they activate, or is it Shaun that activates the judo rope and say, Satomi, save everyone.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
What? Save everyone.
We
Go
need
on.
a crisis. Activating kill mode.
I love all her miscommunications on what the fuck to solve this what the happiness problem is. Okay, you want to be the happiness equals you being the hero. I'm gonna cause a crisis that's gonna make you the hero. What?
It's like, go on.
You are the prince. I'm gonna kiss you.
Do not.
And like side mouth. That reveal was
Yeah.
so good.
Girl, I have a girlfriend. Please no.
I can't quite assess that you're the prince yet. Let me do it again.
Yeah. Why does she analyze like that?
That's what she knows. That's it.
Being in the internet for long enough, you'd think she would have picked up on more just on like social cues. But I guess not.
Yeah. You think she'd be more well versed?
Yeah.
Haha.
Culturally.
You think she would be a woman of culture?
Yeah. Because I love again that they're like, oh, we're putting this AI in school to test it. We're not going to tell the school. And I'm like, that's a bit of a red flag.
Yeah.
A little unethical.
Yeah, a little unethical. Like, I understand it for the sake of the movie, but you can't like not agree with the guy that's like, well, you shouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
Like, he's the voice of reason, and we can all recognize he's in the fucking
Except
right.
he's the one that set it up for failure because he is the one that didn't run it by the school.
Was he supposed to?
I think so.
Yeah. That was
Because
like
it's shown that like the I think it's Sidjo or something that his name is. He's like the sort of like scummy higher up.
Oh, the guy that looks down in all the pictures.
Yeah. It's set up. It's very kind of like it's mostly inferred, I guess, by like the way he talks and like some of the lines he says, where it's like it's very clear he set it up to fail.
Yeah,
because he doesn't like her.
Yeah.
Even though he shows no technical ability to be able to do these things himself.
Well, they explain earlier it's mainly just because she's a woman.
Yeah.
In my boys' club.
Yeah, and if you do one thing wrong in this company, you're
dead.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put you on the street.
I love how she's gone from Tamagotchi to full-on cyborg.
I believe you mean tiny little pet thing that doesn't have a brand name.
Yeah.
It's egg-shaped.
It is egg-shaped, but it's a pendant.
Do you know what the Japanese word for egg is?
I would like to not know.
Tama.
No. There are no brands here.
No.
Egg.
Tamago.
Shh, don't say that.
No brands.
No.
Royalty free.
So she goes from definitely not a Tamagotchi to full-on android.
Yeah.
Sentient life form.
That's a powerful AI.
Yeah.
I don't know if I just missed a piece of information at the beginning, but in the beginning I was like, is this like an actual human body they put an AI into? I don't know.
Human bodies don't have USB ports.
I know, but
but she was thinking like it's like a cyborg sort of situation. Like
it's like a full robot. I think.
Okay.
I understand why not being sure because they don't really state one way or the other, but I just sort of assumed like immediately that it was like a full on robot.
Yeah, the fact she has like
the goop
hard drive bays that
Yeah.
come out whenever she shuts down, I just assumed like
and it just like pops out.
Yeah, because it looked so humanoid. I was like, Are they just,
I just roll with it.
Terminator rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, they just show that the town is, I don't want to say ruled by AI, but it's very prevalent in everything they do.
I mean, it's practically ruled by AI.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But then they have the fucking app or whatever.
Where they can shut them down.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, it begs the question, why do we need that?
Why is it in a camera?
Yeah.
So it's very easy to miss. When she's on the bus, she's looking up and you see like the advertisement for like all the company stuff. And it's like, it says, all our AI units are experimental. Keep your shutdown app up to date in case of emergencies.
Yeah.
So it's like pretty much so that if something goes wrong, anyone can stop it rather than it being like a specific company employee.
Still,
and I guess it being a camera is like to do with...
I know it's like for targeting, but like... What? It feels weird that like they have to use their full-on cameras to like full-on like do it.
I'm gonna be honest, living in an age with iPhone cameras, I don't find it that weird because iPhones have like I'm saying iPhones, but cameras in general and phones now have like really scarily good image recognition.
Yeah, that's true.
So therefore it would be able to distinguish.
Yeah, I do say that knowing that I have a phone that uses Face ID.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I think Manuel's phone, his camera, when he takes a picture, it scans what he's trying to take a picture of, and it will adjust the settings, and it will say like cat photo, food photo, portrait photo, and it will change that. So it wasn't the fact that it is a camera wasn't as weird to me. But I thought it was mostly
odd it kept
visual
showing up as being like demo whenever it looked at something. I didn't quite understand that, because every time it's like aiming at an AI, it shows like green and then shows up with a little bubble above its head saying like demo, and I'm like, why? They're not in demo mode.
Something to do with being experimental, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
I guess for me, the reason I thought it was weird, because like I'm imagining like the logistics of like if a robot was like running rampant or whatever, it feels like it would be really hard to like target it with the camera in like a dangerous situation, which is why I was like, why would it be a camera? But I don't know, that's just me being pedantic. Pedantic the right word?
Well,
No, I do get what you mean. I don't think they thought about it that much.
Yeah. I don't know. That's just the kind of things I think about when stuff like this pops up.
Because I was thinking about it as well. I was like, well, if they wanted to hide the fact that Shaun was an AI, why did they, make her accessible on the shutdown thing?
Well, they mentioned that the shutdown was added in like last minute, and then I think what's his name?
Toma.
He removes it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So.
Because that's convenient.
It's weirdly never really explained how shutting down one AI shuts down all of the ones nearby.
Well, I thought like when are we thinking about like when like the judo robot?
Yeah, because it shuts down Shaun too.
I thought that only happened because like the camera just sort of locked onto both of them without like the person doing it realizing, because the box comes up for like both of them and she's in the camera. So like they shut down.
But they could have just moved Shaun.
Well, they didn't know that like that person was gonna shut them down until it was happening.
Yeah.
No, but she says, "Oh, don't shut it down because it'll shut."
Yeah, but that wasn't one of the friends that did it. It was just a random passerby.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, they could have just aimed not at Shaun, like the friend group, but she's like, "Oh, don't shut it down because it'll shut down all the ones nearby."
Oh.
And so. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Because whether Shaun was in, it's inferred that whether Shaun was in frame or not,
okay,
she would be shut down.
Yeah.
Okay, I must have missed that part.
It's weird. It's not. I don't know.
Because they go from like different phone perspectives as well. I think we're seeing several shot types, so it's unclear. It was unclear in that particular scene who was the person that was shutting it down.
Yeah,
because we saw multiple people that could have done it.
Okay, I thought I must have missed multiple people. I thought it was just like one guy that was just like doing it because it was like, well, we got to shut it down. It's going haywire.
No, I think a lot of people had their phones out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is weird because like she says to one of the friend group like, "Don't do it because it'll shut down all the ones nearby," and then someone does it because obviously they don't know Shaun's
a robot.
But like it's inferred that it would have happened one way or another. So yeah,
I love that she just goes stiff and like her guts just spill out.
Like she just has that smile, like, hey.
And they just pick up.
Toma takes one in the gut.
Yep.
And just immediately like, oh, you look sick, Shaun, we should take you to the nurse.
Yeah, let's go.
Just picks her up like a cardboard cutout.
Let's go. Just under the arm.
Yeah.
Stiff as a board. Ah, that's your
She does
allergies.
that, it's
fine.
That's just how she is.
Yeah. Because, like, very early on, like, the introduction of Shaun, she immediately just goes, talk to me.
Yeah.
Are you happy? And that's... I would have called off the experiment then and there.
Yeah.
Because if you're in that classroom and you're like, oh, we get a new student, and this student just zones in on your class rep, goes over, are you happy? Then starts singing.
Yeah. Imagine being shouted at me in that moment. I would imagine them being mortified.
Yeah.
I mean, she was.
Yes.
Like, what do you do? What do you do?
Start clapping.
Yeah, no. Was it Toma? Whoever, the boy.
I think it was the jock guy.
I thought
that
her
like
boy.
that backed her up and was like, nice one.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't
Someone
remember,
started
to be
clapping.
fair,
Yeah. Well, Sammy started clapping first just because of sheer awkwardness. And then,
Yeah.
everyone just sort of joined in after that.
Yeah, no, it's... I feel like, you know, if we were in this situation and someone did that, we'd all just be like, something's fucking up.
Yeah.
Are you
Thumbs up.
okay?
I mean, to be fair, new student, you can pass that off as being weird.
Yeah.
I think, to me, it'd be too weird.
But here's the thing, none of them know that an AI test is going to be happening.
Yeah, and no one's going to like logically conclude immediately robot girl.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't think anyone's gonna be, you know, like, robot girl, but they're like, she's strange.
Yeah, but
Which
that
is then
doesn't-
gonna keep your eye on her, because you're like,
Uh-huh.
why is she weird? And then you might notice many things slowly that would then be like,
To be fair,
what?
people get bullied in school relentlessly for less, so...
Yeah, exactly.
I think that it wouldn't necessarily go down the route of, like, the experiment getting caught
Yeah,
or
'cause
discovered.
like their notion of considering it good is weird because they never explain what the parameters or whatever.
They're just
are.
looking at some data,
What's
Yeah.
the criteria?
and there's a chart.
cylinder.
Well, no, she draws a cylinder around it, but it's like a graph
Yeah.
that we don't know what the X and Y axis
No.
is,
Well,
so
clear-
we don't understand.
Brain power? Other kind of brain power.
Yeah, because like they could. I feel like realistically they could just skim through her day through her eyes and be like, that's a bit weird. But they just say, daughter, this experiment is going so well. Meanwhile, I was like,
Yeah.
really?
They didn't think to have like video logs of the day and just scroll through that.
It's
No.
weird because, like, sure, she's manipulating like the camera footage at school, which it's weird that it doesn't crop up that they're like,
She can do that?
we never see her at school at all on any of the cameras.
Yeah, because surely they're keeping an eye in case shit goes horribly wrong.
Clearly
I'd like
not,
to
because
think
it
so.
seems like the guy just in the car is just like staying there.
Yeah,
like,
he's
the
just
whole time.
napping the whole day.
Yeah,
and then
so-
they're checking like the internal logs that she's making.
Yeah, it doesn't seem most effective way to do research, but you know.
I
go
mean, I
off.
guess for like the limited kind of like AI they were expecting her to be, that would make
maybe.
sense. But they, weren't expecting Shaun's AI, which has
Is sentient.
evolved and become sentient by being on the internet, and for some reason has not developed the desire to kill all of humanity.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Impressive.
Or at the very least, just swear constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or call people slurs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's a good AI.
Yeah. I mean, as an AI whose main order is kind of makes her to me happy.
Yeah.
She does that.
Yeah.
I'd say.
She tries.
It's
She tries.
the general conceit of the movie.
She tries so hard. She tries so hard, but she has no idea how to.
Yeah.
Why aren't you happy? Why
I don't know.
I love how
God.
everyone keeps referring back to Toma whenever Shaun says something like that. And he's just like,
I don't know.
I make robots.
Yeah, I'm
What?
I'm the most dead inside person here. Why are you talking to me?
Also, I like the little recurring. That's not a trash can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it comes back, like, I think they hint at it just enough, like, 2 or 3 times that you're like, of course!
Well, but the point that it becomes relevant, he's already stated explicitly, oh, it's a hard drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when, later when they've ransacked the school and they've taken Shaun back, you're like, oh, the trash can. And then you see it's like emptied out and you're like, oh, but they've put the trash can back. So you're like, ah. Doesn't go to the use I thought it would. I thought they would have like reinstalled her memories from that instead of watching her memories, which feels like a violation of her privacy.
Yeah,
she's a robot, it's fine.
It still feels too personal.
Yeah, it feels a lot icky.
She doesn't have human rights, it's fine.
I can't wait until we have to have, AI laws. AI privacy laws. Which,
AI ethical laws.
Well, we need them generally right now.
Can you get those laws of robotics in, please?
Like, it was such a positive AI thing, which I don't think we see enough
No.
in media, because we all can kind of agree. AI, as it's currently going, companies are using it to...
Even
like
if you, go back, like, the general portrayal of AI in general is a bit sort of, like, negatively... which is wild, because somehow we still had all of this media that was like, hey... AI may not be a good idea.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of tech bros went, I'll be fine.
Yeah. You're all just pessimistic.
Whatever. But I can make it make pictures and nudes of women.
So what if Isaac Asimov, one of the greatest minds of the 20th century, said,
Don't think you should.
Don't think you should.
but we can make deep fakes.
Yeah. I can put a horse anywhere.
Anywhere I want.
9/11 horse.
You went in a very different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It always comes down to porn.
Yeah. Like, it was refreshing to see, a positive AI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she wasn't going in that direction.
Don't worry. And like to me, after finishing watching it, I was like, I don't think it's propaganda, because it's a nice thing.
Yeah.
But ooh,
it does feel like it's a bit too positive sometimes.
I think it's just the time that it ended up coming out.
Maybe.
And I think had this released in like maybe 2018, 19, it wouldn't have been that same kind of like, because I definitely was watching it going like, this is a very like, positive portrayal of something that right now is in like a very negative light, because it's generally being used under ethically questionable circumstances.
Like, this was 2021.
2021,
yeah.
So like right as
just
things,
before.
Yeah.
Just before all the data stealing.
Yeah.
And so like another like year before Japan would have really, because like sure they're always there at the cusp of technology, but when it comes to like the social environment of it all, it's generally a little bit behind by like a year or so.
Yeah.
So like,
and if it's like in a government facility, like they're decades behind.
Yeah.
Are they still using floppy disks?
Well, America's still using floppy disks.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
A lot of NASA data was stored on floppy disks for like stuff, and then not floppy disks, and it's not even the precursor to that, it's the precursor to the precursor to the precursor. All of America's tax records are stored on like the earliest form of like digitization and computer networking from like the 60s.
Okay. That I did not know.
So in general, no government is perfect in that regard.
Cool.
But yeah,
very positive portrayal of AIs.
Yes.
Which I liked on a certain level. I liked being in a world where AI was not the existentially terrifying thing that
it sort of skirts the questions that it raises.
Yeah.
Though, because it's like the mum starts having a bit of an existential crisis, like when it's revealed how developed Shaun's AI is, and then like the friends just show up and go, that world would be kind of fun, and then they move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she raised the questions, and then she meets the movie saying, don't question this.
Yeah.
This isn't that kind of movie.
It's like, we don't need to go there. This is Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, worry about that in, like, a few years' time.
Yeah. It's not for this movie to be concerned with. Not the story we're trying to tell.
Can I just say, one of the flaws I think I have with this movie is to do with the mum, which, like, most of the time, she's fine. Like, she's an interesting story. It's when she's, like, when she gets fired, I think the movie fires way too much into, like, her despair.
She flips hard.
Yeah, like, she goes from, like, being all happy and, like, the project, like, when the project gets, like, sort of shut down, like, she immediately starts drinking at home.
Yeah, like, her whole life has ended.
Yeah.
Which, you have the right to feel fucking sad about it,
Yeah.
but you
However,
have a kid.
it's also established that, like, she's not fired either.
No.
She just
Demoted.
had the project taken away from her, which, like, I get in a sense, but, like, you can still work back up to
and
that.
you don't need to, like, say to your daughter, leave me alone, I might say something I'll regret.
Yeah, you don't need to get fully fucking wine plastered.
No.
And then, you know, throw a plate at a mirror in the middle of the hall.
So bizarre. Yeah, it does.
It's almost out of character for her, because she's never like that again in the movie.
I wonder if the director has some, like, issues.
Yeah,
they have to work out with their mother.
It feels like it was a very visceral, like, thing there in that moment. It was like, and then it's never brought up again. It's like, okay.
It's such a, like, tone shift in general, because, like, when she comes home and, like, you first see the mum, you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps getting worse. It's like the anxiety ramp of Uncut Gems, but like in, like, a very condensed scene. It's so out of place.
Like, it suddenly hard cuts to, is this, like, an abusive, like, household?
Yeah.
Like, and we just didn't notice earlier, but then it's never brought up again, so it's like, okay.
And then we have, like, one scene of her dad leaving. I just assumed he was dead.
Yeah. I didn't even think about the dad for most of this movie.
No, it's only, like, a quick thing where, like, they're seeing Shion's memories of, like, seeing Satomi growing up. And it's like, there's a scene where they're in a train station with her and her mum, and there's a guy getting on the train. And I was like, oh, I guess that's her dad.
Yeah.
But where is he going? Is he going to work?
He's just going to work for the day.
Did they break up? Did they divorce? Like, what's what? Huh?
I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty dense. I didn't even get that.
It's so quick that I don't blame you for missing it.
Like, I thought this, like, oh no, I'm gonna be honest. My instinct was like, oh no, the train's, like, broke, like, shut down. Like, there's something wrong with the train or whatever, so she can't do whatever they were doing that day, and she's just sad about it.
Wow, your brain went
okay.
further.
Yeah.
I thought you just missed it. I didn't realize you were being like...
Like, I misinterpreted the scene.
Yeah, that's very
I just assumed
different, yeah.
Yeah, you know when you see kid with parent that is there and presumably other I'm just gonna assume they left.
Yeah. I just completely misinterpreted the scene.
Yeah, no, it's very clear that, like, they're standing, it's Satomi and her mother, she's crying, and, like, there's a person standing with
thinking
luggage.
about it now, it's very obvious. That's why I was like, oh, I'm dense.
You're sitting there. Why is the train not working?
Yes.
They were gonna
It's
go
just
to
like, oh, she's sad.
Disneyland.
She was gonna have a day out, and now she can. That's so sad.
If that was, like, one of the worst things she had to deal with growing up, she had it fucking easy.
I mean, she was like a child. Kids cry over anything.
I know, but, like...
Anything can be traumatic to a kid.
Yeah, but, like, yeah, it makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah. I thought it would maybe dig into, like, where the dad went as, like, some relevant thing to maybe making Satomi happy, or, you know,
He's the reason Shion got so advanced somehow.
Yeah, like, something. I thought it would maybe come up, but, like,
No.
despite hammering home the fact that, like, her mum is a single mum who does everything a lot, doesn't really... It's not relevant.
No.
And it's a weird thing to set up and then never, like, pay off in a, like...
Because it opens on that. Yeah, there is no real payoff. We just see that Satomi is very, you know, independent.
Yeah.
And, you know, she knows her mother's schedule and she kind of respects that's what she does.
Mm-hmm.
So it does seem a bit like she's neglected, maybe?
I guess, but I would say it's, like, indicative of, like, a lot of Japanese family dynamics in general, where, like, work culture is so much like that, that it is common
Like, I definitely took it as like a more of a work culture thing than any other message it was trying to put out.
Yeah, but it's like usually, I would say offset by the fact that there is another parent present, and it's set. The movie does kind of set up in a way where you're like, oh, okay, I guess we're gonna get a little bit maybe mention of that as to like maybe where the dad went. No, it never comes up.
Robots.
Killed by AI happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
Shaun derailed the train after it caught on it.
Motherfuckers!
You mess with her, you mess with me.
That wasn't very Moon Princess of you.
I do have to say, you guys might hate me for this, I think the songs were a bit much for me.
I'm actually surprised.
Yeah, like, because it's not a musical.
No.
And so I think I just would have liked an acknowledgement of how insane it is. Because, you know, she's full on going singing. I'm assuming in certain instances there's no music.
Well, it's established that she hacks like the PA system to play the music, so.
But still, that's even weirder.
They acknowledge that.
I don't think enough. Because it just
like outside
kind of
of
comes
like
out of nowhere.
like this, maybe the immediate scene after, we're like, this is weird. Like, they don't really acknowledge beyond that, and none of like the other normal.
But they kind of
students.
take everything about Shaun in their stride, really, when you think about it. The fact she's an AI, a robot.
I wonder, do you, sort of in like the context of like every other student though, no one else really makes a comment on it.
Yeah, because they'll just suddenly hear Moon Princess, like the music, and they're like, what the fuck is this?
Like, we can't worry about that. We got class, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we never really see much of like the general school perspective in general.
Yeah.
Like, we never really see past their
outside of like the
friend
two
group.
random girls that always seem to be
Yeah.
following
Yeah, no, I think
The bitch.
the bitch and the jock.
I just think it would have been nice in maybe the scene where, you know, after Shaun is shot, let's just say shot.
Oh, right.
Taken down. Like, they talk about, she hacked into this, she hacked into that. Having a scene there where they just show that. Like, show, where's all this music coming from? Show the... Because they are kind of living in the fairy tale world.
Yeah.
Let's just say the main cast. Whereas, like, this all makes sense to them because they're in the moment.
Yeah, they're the main characters.
Yeah. And to have maybe an outside perspective to just show them
suddenly hard cut to like
insane.
Like, suddenly when she's taken down and like we're having those interview scenes, suddenly hard cuts like an Ace Attorney like witness room with like the other students like that. We heard these like weird music in the PA system. We didn't know what was going on. It was weird.
Some people said that like the new girl was like fainting or something, and
I
she went dead.
I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, I'll also acknowledge the fact the movie's already 2 hours.
Yeah, no, I don't think it needs to be longer.
It'd be hard to put them in, that perspective shift.
Like, I don't think this is to me, this is like a nitpick.
Yeah.
But like, I understand that.
No, that's the only thing where I was like, 100%, they're living in the moment, all that. I just needed that kind of brought back to reality for them. Because I think that just would have brought the point home a bit more.
Yeah. I just sort of...
You just let it happen.
Yeah. At a certain point, the movie's just like, you just gotta go with it.
She opened her mouth and started singing, and I was like, "Oh, you have a great voice," and that was it. That's all I. That was it.
Pretty
it have
voice.
Been so funny if she just only opened her mouth, just and like just the song
the words of the song
would be better.
Well,
because even I don't know if anyone's looked into this. Like, her voice, it sounds very, like, pitched.
No, she's an actual singer.
Yeah, no, I assume, because it's, the way they used auto-tune, maybe, they use it to just flatline. I don't know the exact terms for it.
Yeah. I know.
I mean, most singers use auto-tune.
No, absolutely.
Just,
But I think it might have been used in a way here to make it slightly more robotic.
Slightly more inhuman.
Maybe. Yeah, I would have... As much as I love the voice actress they cast as her, because she's an actual singer, Tao Tsuchiya, I honestly, just for the bit, would have loved if she started singing and it was just Hatsune Miku.
Because I was watching it by myself. Manuel walked in, he was like, "Is that Hatsune Miku playing?" He legit.
It sounds nothing like Hatsune Miku.
No, but he
Miku's
said
a lot
the
more robotic.
inflection.
Yeah.
it was something in the way. Look, he said some terms I don't even know, but I do think it sounds a bit. If you look into, if you really like, try and find it. There's ways with, like, notes and slightly too early and all shit like that.
I'll say, as someone who knows a bit about Vocaloid and also a bit about music because I studied it too. Nothing like Vocaloid at all.
No, it's nothing like Vocaloid, but
but Hatsune Miku's Vocaloid.
Yeah, no,
so,
I
like,
know that.
Yeah, and it sounds nothing like Hatsune Miku.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is the way they use auto-tune, which is a normal thing to use, I think they just use it slightly more than they would usually, just to like end certain notes early in a way where it would cut off, and just so it's slightly like only, you know. If you
I think it may sound strange because what you're hearing is the sometimes you're hearing just the vocal take isolated out of the song, and that's probably gonna sound strange without all of the music behind it.
Could be.
I think that's probably where it comes from, because like when you hear vocal takes isolated like on their own without the music, they can cut off a little early just because like that's where the music cuts or like they're going into a different line. So like it sounds unnatural, but it's just the way the song's constructed. And when you're hearing the whole song, you're not really going to notice that. But you're hearing just her singing on her own, like like half the time that she sings. And it's not really until like the Moon Princess song where like you're just hearing the full song. But,
I mean, the judo, is that before?
Oh yeah, the judo song, but most of the time when she's singing, you hear her start. And you'll hear like her isolated occasionally throughout the song as well. But I don't know. I never noticed any of the weird.
No, it just took me out of it a bit.
Yeah.
Not excessively so. I was just like, oh, that's a nice touch.
I find it weird that Manuel was like, is that Hatsune Miku? Because no, it doesn't sound anything like Hatsune Miku. I didn't think
it was like her necessarily, I think. It was more of like, it sounds like an AI weird thing. Even if it's just, you know, a slight tinge. I don't know.
Manuel, if you're listening, we're calling you out.
Yeah, we're calling him out.
Your take is shit. You want to defend yourself, get back on the podcast.
Shall we go scores?
Sure.
Yeah. It's at least a 9 for me. I feel like I genuinely think this could go up to a 10.
Wow.
For me. I really liked this movie. It hit all my notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might just give this a straight 10.
Wow.
This was a good movie.
I
genuinely think I'll get this on Blu-ray.
I'll give it a 9. I like it. It's not like perfect, but I had a lot of fun with it. And it was a good time.
I think I'm giving it a 7 on first watch.
You would.
But
The Dissenter.
Yeah, I think it was very enjoyable. There's some parts where it dragged a little. And I was just like, meh. Couldn't, you know.
Couldn't be me.
Couldn't be me.
Yeah. And I think maybe on a rewatch you find the tinier bits that really improve it. But for now, I'm a 7.
Nice, okay.
I have to ask, is it part of the canon for you?
I would say it's joined the canon, yeah. So, yeah, the canon for me is like Your Name, Weathering with You, A Silent Voice, all those kind of movies that like
sort of Shinkai, not Shinkai.
Shinkai's
Shinkai,
Weathering with You and Your Name. Silent Voices, and that's Naoko Yamada. But like those kind of movies that like just resonate.
Yeah, that really hit you.
Yeah.
On like an emotional level for me anyway.
And I wouldn't, well, some parts did hit me on an emotional level, but it's more so just like that sheer like thrill and joy that you get from them, which is hard to come by in movies. It's like you don't really know you're going to get that until you've seen it. So that's, the canon.
The canon.
The canon.
And I think Sing a Bit Harmony comfortably goes in there.
Yeah, it goes in there. It fits.
Yeah. I'll watch it again, probably a bunch of times.
I want to watch it dubbed next time.
That would be interesting, because I doubt they would have dubbed the singing.
They did.
Oh, did they?
I actually went back because I wanted to find out if they did, and they did. They did the singing, and it works surprisingly well.
Huh. I wonder who they cast then. I'll need to look into that.
For a second, I thought it was Amelie, but it's not.
No, I would have known if it was her.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll move on to Vampire Hunter D.
The Return of Dungo.
Well, this is his
Technically,
first.
this is the first appearance.
Yeah.
We've done this a little bit out of order. If you've been watching the show for a while, we've covered Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, which is actually the second movie adaptation, which adapts the third book for some reason, not the second. And this one adapts the first book, which is just called Vampire Hunter D. Third book's called Demon Death Chase, I believe.
Yeah. And this one's also very 80s.
Oh,
in some
yeah.
places.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we want to talk about first?
There's so many panty shots in the first
Oh.
Okay, cool.
minutes.
We're going straight into
Yeah.
it. Why does she
Oh
not
my
wear anything below the waist?
So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna put some pictures on our WhatsApp. I'm gonna show you them without context, and I want you to figure out who this actually is.
Uh-oh.
So I'm sending Melina some images. Anyone who's
I've been
familiar
I've seen
with
these images.
anyone who's familiar with the books and the movie may know what I'm getting at here. I think the second image may be a dead giveaway, but
Well, what am I trying to see again?
who do you think this is meant to be?
Who are these characters?
So you can see D in two of
Yeah.
them, and there's one girl who's in all of them.
Yes.
Who do you think that girl is?
Is it Doris?
That's Doris. That's how
No.
Doris looks in the book and the manga, not this infantile
God.
child that she is in the movie.
And she also has trousers,
She has trousers, yes.
which, you know, kind of weird that they removed that.
I mean, she's full on fucking naked in the first
Yeah.
image, but
Yeah.
so and in the second one, that's they pronounce it Larmica in the movie, I think, but I was pronouncing it when I was reading it Larmica in my
Yeah,
head.
same.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what she's supposed to look like. Again, she also looks kind of infantile in the movie.
Yeah. It's very much the 80s perversion,
Yeah.
Yeah.
unfortunately, and I don't like it.
No.
Upskirts.
Yep.
So many. Oh
Why?
my god! At some point, I was like, "Is it like meant to be like a bodysuit?"
No.
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 You'd give them too much credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why's the little brother Danny so buff?
I don't know.
I didn't get buff.
No.
For a kid, buff boy.
He
I didn't get
just
that.
kind of looks like a dumpy little boy to me.
Yeah, like almost like Galaxy Express.
Yeah. I mean, it's established in the book that like he's like 8 or 9, and he's like already quite strong because he works on the farm.
Yeah. And he has that fucking gun.
Which, okay, again, one thing that the movie never establishes: those are laser rifles which don't have any recoil.
I
I
mean,
sort
it
of
looked
got that from the way
lasery,
they like
so-
shot. Yeah.
But I think it would have been better to establish, which is why a child can
hold
use
one.
it.
Yeah.
I was just like, damn, respect.
Honestly, for me, I was like, it's just that kind of world, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything can happen in
Yeah.
this world. Yeah.
Like, there's planets in the sky, and that
That's
castle's got like
fine.
metal stuff inside. But even though on the
Yeah.
outside it looks like it shouldn't have any of that.
There's like
anyway.
no world building in this
No.
whatsoever.
Really?
Which,
It's
for
all-
a first movie,
Yeah.
They give like a little text blur, but like the start, but that doesn't really go anywhere.
It doesn't fill in anything.
We don't find out what a dampire really is until like halfway through the movie.
A dampier, yeah.
Dampier.
Yeah.
yeah, no. Because I think the opening had so much potential if it didn't have so many fucking panty shots.
So here's the thing about the opening. That's like a flashback that takes place way later in the book.
I think it makes sense to have as the opening, though.
I think it's... Well, I guess if the character design hadn't been changed, it would have been much more interesting had it opened where the book opens, which is you see Dee riding down the road and he encounters a figure and she challenges him to a fight. And so they fight, and it's revealed that she's not wearing anything underneath her like cloak, and she's like, I need a hunter, I've been bitten by a vampire. She surmises that Dee's a vampire hunter. And she's like, I'll give you 3... It sort of happens similarly in the movie, where she's like, I'll give you 3 meals a day and I'll fuck you.
Yeah.
She says, I'll let you do whatever you want.
Okay, in the book it's more clearly stated that she'll give him her
Again,
body.
She's...
17.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's, semi-immortal.
Yeah, it's... I
You
don't
have a
think
few
his-
centuries.
I don't think his
Yeah.
age is ever clearly stated, but I also don't think he's like mega old either.
No, like I said, I was thinking like a few centuries.
Yeah. So it's just weird.
How old's Alucard in Castlevania? Around that,
I don't
around
know.
that age.
Yeah, it was just weird where I was like, we don't need that.
No.
You know, it's okay.
Yeah.
I still think like opening on the introduction of her being bit and then going to your main character. It's kind of like a cold open-esque.
I guess,
Yeah.
but I think it's more interesting to like leave that a mystery a little bit until later in the movie.
I don't know. It could be. It just it sets you up kind of high paced to then go to, and this is the guy
This is the dude.
who doesn't speak for too long.
Yeah, I
doesn't
just
say
think it would have
shit.
established like a better tone
Yeah.
compared to,
maybe.
because like the film is not highly like action packed.
No.
No.
It's, and neither's the book. So like opening on that whole scene where there's a fucking dinosaur for no reason.
Why is there a dinosaur?
It's a minor fire drake in the book, so it's like a dragon type thing.
It's like a fantasy creature.
Yeah,
Not a dinosaur.
not a big dinosaur.
Big dino, and it's the only dinosaur in the movie, and he's very out of place.
Yeah, because I was
Yeah.
watching it and I'm like, oh, this, I don't remember this scene. And then it's not until she like kills that, and then like the werewolf kind of like turns up, that I was like, oh, this is the flashback. And then the werewolf never turns up again.
No.
And he's like an actual character
Oh, fun.
throughout the book. He fights Dee more often than the Count does.
Can I just state, by the way, the Count is called Count Lee, and he is
Christopher Lee.
a descendant of Dracula.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, all of them are descendants of
Okay,
Dracula.
yeah.
He's the sacred ancestor. He's almost like a god to them
Okay.
in lore.
Still, Count Lee.
That's on purpose.
I know
Yeah.
it's on purpose.
Because the first book's dedicated to Christopher Lee.
I know.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
My point is, I find it funny.
Yeah, no, it let Manuel down a. Did Christopher Lee play fucking Dracula? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, in Horror of Dracula.
that's his famous role.
58 or
58,
something like that.
Yeah,
Which is
the
like
60s, I think.
the
Hammer Horror was 60s, I think.
yeah. Hold on. Oh, it's not on my phone. It's on the iPad. Never mind. It's just that the opening
Ah, yeah,
dedication explains that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I think it mentions Bram Stoker and Christopher Lee, and I can't remember if it mentions.
Bela Lugosi.
Yeah, that's it. I almost said Mussolini.
Wow!
I don't know. My brain just couldn't like get the
Dude,
correct
that is
name.
a pull.
No, but I just couldn't get the correct name.
But like,
Anyway, this movie's very different from the book. I have a lot of notes.
Well, let's go.
So, I've already established Doris looks different. The opening scene's a flashback. Doris is actually completely naked when she first meets Dee.
Weird.
Yeah, but it's
with
like
the context of the scene, I sort of get. I'm not defending it, but like, I sort of get the whole tone. Like, she's
Yeah.
desperate, and that's her bargaining chip.
that's an overall thing that I would say is the book is much darker in tone, and that it's the frontier is a much more harsher place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like she runs a farm because her parents have died. She's looking after her brother. She doesn't have much, so like she's like, well, the only thing I can offer
Is that
is, you know, my body. And so that's why she comes to that conclusion. So it is out of desperation. Whereas the movie never really establishes that.
no?
She's just like,
It's more like an offhand comment, like, "Oh, you can also do whatever you want." you know,
Yeah.
but whatever.
It's whatever.
it kind of makes
Whatever.
Dee
If you want
seem. It kind of makes Dee seem a little creepy.
Yeah.
Instead of like, where she's like, "Oh, I'll offer you 3 square meals" in the book, and he's like, "And."
What else though?
And it's more like a
17-year-old girl.
I mean, he has said in the movie, he's like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta remember when he basically gets a vampire boner halfway through the movie, this like the screen goes like all insane and stuff. And
Yeah.
He's like, eh.
weirdly
which-
presented in the movie.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the amount of flashing lights that were so
This is
nauseating?
very much
this is
pre-
pre Super Soldier Paragon.
Like,
Yeah.
I was getting nauseous at some point. I'm like, oh my god, like, epilepsy warnings and all that.
Yeah.
We've had this before with, I believe, Mystery of Mama. Where
Yes.
we're like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh my god, if you want me to pay attention, don't do this.
There were genuinely parts where like I had to like block the screen
Same.
because I was like,
Yeah.
fucking stop.
It didn't help that one of the major weapons used was a fucking flashing
yeah.
light. Like, oh, thank god they destroyed it. 20 minutes later, but I have
another
the real one. No!
Stop.
I truly felt like a vampire. I'm like, no, it weakens me, no.
Yeah. This was fun to watch in like a dark room at like the middle of the night, just like.
So the conversation we see like quite early with Doris D and like the mayor after like Greco's like tried to come on her and like he's proclaimed to the whole village, she's been bitten by a vampire. That actually happens at like her farm. Where like an angry mob pulls up because she's like met Greco, rejected him, blah blah blah, and he's blabbed to the whole town. So like the mayor, the doctor, and all that show up, and it kind of puts more pressure on Doris.
Yeah, because they're at her home.
They're at her home. There's like fucking 30 bandits that Greco brought along, and it's much more like intense and could break into violence at any moment type thing.
I also want to establish here. You also said that like Greco in the book is less of a posh twat and more like an actual like bandit.
Yeah, he's like a lughead, butch, tries to throw his weight around. He's not some posh uppity boy.
He's not the mayor's son.
Yeah, he's not wearing a fancy suit. At one point he has like a robotic like combat armor thing on.
I did think it was weird that he's trying to like present himself as like a sort of posh guy, but like he's also against the nobles or like the nobility, who are established vampire things.
It's very strange. The camp they mentioned during that scene, which is a weird interpretation of the asylum in the book, which is a high-tech facility that they put people who've been bitten by vampires in because the nobles can't get in. Because if you remember in Bloodlust, the vampire that D is hunting at one point has like the laser and like reflective stuff and stuff. So there's more like sci-fi-esque elements and there's quite high-tech weaponry. And so they use that to fend off the vampires and the nobility. There's like magnetic locks on the doors and stuff. Whereas here in the movie, it's just like, put her in the camp.
Yeah.
What?
Which is like
what camp?
Like your instant like thought is gonna be like a prison camp.
Yeah, and like he even says like, the doc even's like, it's not fit for human habitation. It's like, are you talking about a concentration camp?
Yeah, like my first instinct, well, what the fuck was this town doing to these people?
It's such a strange like reinterpretation of it. Whereas like there's actual scenes happen in the asylum later on that would have been more interesting. But the camp never actually comes up again.
No. What part of fantasy Europe is this?
Yeah, I love generic European town.
Yeah.
You?
You could tell very much in the movie, Doris is like very stereotypically, I want to say, German in like her design.
Yeah, absolutely. The braids.
It's never really like fully established in the book where it is, but I would say that the town, which I don't really think the name is ever mentioned, it's called Ransilva.
Very European.
Add a T at the start and an IA at the end. Or an NIA. Yeah, you got Transylvania. So I don't know if the inference there is that like this is Transylvania and like things have just become distorted, because as I'll get to the world building later, there's some things that this movie never establishes that are very important to the world of Vampire Hunter D.
Okay, yeah.
One thing it does change. There's no woman moon. I don't know what I don't know what
they
Dee's
talk
talking
about the blood moon.
Yeah.
You know, us women are, when the moon's
blood
full.
might be rising.
Ugh.
No. That doesn't exist in the book. It's established that...
Weird addition.
Yeah, it's established that Doris was bitten 5 days ago, and Dee's like, something must happen tonight, because the vampire feed every 3 to 5 days once they've picked their prey. And it's like almost impossible for a vampire to go longer than that, so something must happen tonight.
Yeah.
Or it was like the 4th day. It was close enough that it was he knew something.
There's a very good chance.
Yeah. It's mentioned the Count disappears, and then like they thought he was dead, and then he shows up and starts ruling the land again.
Psych.
Never happens in the book. He's just always been there. The castle's always been there.
And, he went on a holiday for like a good few decades and then just came back.
I don't know what the thing of him disappearing adds to anything in the movie. It doesn't really add anything to the story.
He's a quirky guy.
Quirky little lad.
He's just a little dude.
And here's
Who
the
preys on the innocent.
Here's the change that like really threw me over the edge.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this.
D says crosses and garlic aren't going to be enough to deal with the nobility. In the world of Vampire Hunter D, humans do not know the effectiveness of garlic and crosses. They do not know the weakness of vampires because it's been established that the vampires, when they were in power, genetically manipulated humanity so that if they ever figured out a weakness, they would forget what it is.
Oh.
So there's a whole mystery behind what a vampire's weakness is because they can never remember.
Huh.
And there's a whole subplot established between the Doc and Doris about her dad having found one and he can't remember what it is. The Doc finds out about the weakness to garlic. He has garlic powder, which wards off the count at one point. But as soon as they realised the garlic powder worked, they forgot about it. There's an inference of, like, in the movie, the Doc's like, I'm taking you somewhere safe. It's a place I found, and it wards off vampires. In the book, that's very heavily inferred it's a church.
Okay.
He's like, in the movie, he's like, there's writing on the walls. But he mentions crosses in the movie. In the book, sorry. And... why change that? It's like such an important thing.
Yeah, it feels like such a like foundational thing of the world that like it's weird that they just ignore it.
Because in the whole movie, Doris is wearing a cross necklace.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of people wearing crosses.
She doesn't have that in the book. What Dee does at some point is put a ward on her bite mark that whenever a vampire is nearby will realise it's an imprint of a cross. And when it's touched by a vampire's breath, they see it, but they won't get that close because it's so... Obviously, they're warded off by crosses, so it's so powerful it sends them away. Because the garlic powder wasn't like the main thing that pushed the count away during that confrontation. It actually was the cross on Doris's neck.
Okay.
So it's such a strange, like... change to the world building that had they done any more adaptions,
that would have broken some things.
Yeah,
unless they retconned,
completely altered it, or unless they retconned that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one.
Yeah, so I guess I'll jump to the world building part that this movie doesn't do.
Okay, so here's the context we fucking missed apparently.
It's 12,000 AD. Because in 1999, the world broke out in nuclear war.
Okay, I did expect something along those lines.
And from the devastation, the vampires took their place took humanity's place as the rulers of the world.
Yeah.
They rebuilt society and the world in their, to suit them.
Yeah.
And through that, genetically manipulated, blah blah blah. I'll just read what I actually wrote.
Yeah. You got a script there.
Huge technological advancements were made and humans were genetically manipulated to be easier prey. 10,000 years later, the vampires began to fall. They didn't seem to care about progress or maintaining their power, and so a revolution happened, their society was toppled and humanity regained control. Smaller in population, humans now live in small villages and communities scattered throughout the frontiers, and the few vampires left terrorize them from their castles. Hunters are a necessity of life. They specialize in specific creatures, werewolves, dragons, etc. With vampire hunters being the most vampires being the most challenging of foes. Only the most skilled hunters can become vampire hunters. And time bewitching incense is infused with a scent that can switch day into night and vice versa to those of vampiric nature.
Nice.
So it doesn't affect anyone who isn't a vampire.
Okay.
I get that they have to visualize it in the movie. However, it doesn't just make things very bright.
Okay. That'll do it.
Yeah. So yeah, some of the world building that the movie just decided to completely ignore.
Yeah, that would have been nice to have.
Yeah. Also, the time bewitching incense doesn't just fucking kill Dee in the book. He's fighting Ray Ginsey, and Greco's off like in a bush, and as D jumps up to attack him, Greco activates the candle, and it like stuns D for a second because it changes from night to day, and Ray Ginsey uses that as an opportunity to stake him through the heart.
Okay.
It doesn't just kill him on the spot.
Like immediately.
Yeah, like in the movie, he just has a full-on like stroke and keels over.
Yeah, he's like, heart failure.
It's so many weird changes that if you've read the book, you're like, but why?
It does explain how the candle that fucks with space-time got its name.
Yeah. So it's like
It's not just a lamp.
It's not just a lamp, no. It's like an actual functioning thing that like has a specific scent infused into it that makes that fills vampires' brains into thinking it's the opposite time of whatever it is. So during the day they'll use it to combat the effects of the sun, and at night it can be used as a weapon. So it's like both their greatest tool and their greatest weapon against them. So yeah.
Neat.
Book's very interesting. I didn't really find the movie that compelling though.
I mean, I still liked the movie overall.
I enjoyed the vibes.
Like, cons aside.
I think the vibes in Bloodlust were so much better though.
Yeah.
Like, I had to look up, like, how long was it between these? So it's 15 years, I believe.
Yeah.
And I feel like the second one just did it so much better.
Yeah.
The music was so good in Bloodlust. And here it was so...
It's
Very
weird.
generic.
They kind of stole like the main theme from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Why?
It,
I think Bloodlust just nailed the tone that the books take like much
the
better.
gothy...
The sort of like darker kind of gothic sci-fi fantasy cross, whereas this sort of leaned a little more to the fantasy, but because the sci-fi's so heavily infused into it, like it can't shake everything, and so you have like this weird like mishmash instead.
It's just... I think if you watch this one first, you're blown away by Bloodlust.
Yeah.
But now we were all just left kind of disappointed.
Yeah. It's sort of lacking just a little bit.
Yeah, like, it was still interesting. And I feel like, you know, were we a little lost in Bloodlust? Like, maybe a bit, but not excessively so.
Oh, no, we got through it just fine.
Yeah.
I like the introduction of the dumb here and all that, but can we just remake it? Can we go back to 2000 and they just do this one again as well?
Just make a new one.
I'd genuinely love to see like a full adaptation. Well, I say full, the series isn't finished yet. I'd love to see like a more like, you know, full adaptation of Vampire Hunter D, but I think it's sort of the same as Berserk, where the time has been and gone. I don't think the industry's in a state where there's any studio that could have the artistic drive to pull it off.
Yeah.
Like, God forbid Mappa got a hold of it, because it would just be the most generic thing in existence if they did it.
Yeah.
Because you have such a like strong character, like, you know, Dungo. And like to have its style kind of be taken away to just leave him in this, I don't want to say mediocre looking world, but it just didn't feel right. So sad.
Yeah.
So sad.
I enjoyed the book. I really enjoyed the first book, and I'm going to keep reading them because I do have all of them up to the most recent one that came out in English. But there's a weird tone shift from book to movie that it sort of saps out a lot of the originality that I found in the book, where like some parts of the book are a little mundane, I have to admit, but that's because there's long stretches in the first book of nothing really happening, just because it's the first book. It's establishing the world and the lore and vampires and how these dynamics work. So I'm sure as things progress, it'll become more engaging and more interesting, because that's generally how a long-running series works. It's that once you understand these things, you're more invested in the consequences of new information or like new characters showing up and stuff like that, because it's like another weird change is the Count never really fully outwardly confirms his suspicion of Dee's heritage. And the book never really outrightly does it either. It's all left to like the reader's interpretation. It's kind of irrefutable to be read any other way. Like, he is probably the son of Dracula. But like, all it does in the book is that like you see a little bit of the Count's perspective where he's like looking at Dee and he's like, oh, was he maybe, and then he dies.
Yeah.
And then the only other part that comes close to anything like that is the end, where the castle's crumbling and Larmica looks at him and goes, D, does that stand for Dracula? And then it just cuts.
Oh.
And that's the only time Dracula's name's actually ever mentioned in the book.
Huh.
The only other time you see the only other time he's mentioned throughout the first book is as the sacred ancestor.
Yeah.
You kind of get the inference that it's probably Dracula.
Yeah, because who else is it gonna be?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was hoping for the Count from the Muppets.
Oh, that would be so cool.
But yeah, it's all right.
It depends how you go into it, I suppose. Because again, if this is your introduction to it, I think you'll like it more than if you've seen Bloodlust first.
Or if you've read the book. 'Cause
Yeah, I can
have
imagine,
Yeah,
So shall we go to our scores?
I think so, yeah.
I'm at a 5.
5. There's still parts of this movie I do like as an overall, like just removed from like the book or like Bloodlust or whatever. So there's part of me that still wants to give it like maybe a 7.
Okay.
It could have even been like higher if it wasn't for like the gratuitous fucking panty shots and
Yeah.
stuff and all that stupid shit. So, but maybe more like a 6.5 roundabout.
I'm at a 5 as well, I think. Like, stylistically, I like some stuff. The animation's at least
Good.
competent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go so far as to call it good, because there's certainly some action sequences where I'm like, oh, this is just like, you know, the background's moving, but the character's not.
There were some shots that I really did like, just like, as an artistic like lens. The sort of final shot specifically when he's on like the cliffside and stuff, with, like the sun in the background. That's a good like piece of art.
It's stylistically quite nice. Like, they've definitely, you know, brought some of it alive. I think it's tonally lacking, but other than that, but yeah, a 5 I think is where I land on it.
Yeah, wow.
So yeah, there we go. Thank you for listening to this episode of Anime Lane.
That was the episode.
That's it. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.
Bye bye.